Welcome into our overtime, special overtime. We usually don't do this for Sports Source Kickoff, but we are this week. Thanks for joining us on SportsSource.tv. Back with Jimmy Himes, Mike Griffith, Will Overstreet. This was just such a news-packed week. I wanted to open it up and see if any of you guys had anything you wanted to touch on that we couldn't get to during today's show. Will, I'm going to start with you because I know you had something.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, if you look at this, when Shazan said a couple weeks ago on the Sunday Sports Show, he actually said, oh, Jalen Hurts should be a tight end, and we all kind of disagreed, and I disagreed with that.
Actually, he said he's not a running back.
Well, he's not a running back, right. But when I found out that, yes, his desire is to play tight end, and then I started thinking about, okay, 6'4", big guy, can run, seen him catch, he's a pretty good blocker, seen him on a couple of lead plays, run blocker and pass blocker. You're kind of like, would he start for us, a tight end? Yeah. I mean, you start thinking about it a little bit, and you're like, and you didn't have to go directly away, but I'm kind of wondering if this is one of those things, if that guy really wants to play that, and I look at it, and I don't have to take him fully out of running back, but I use two backs, Kamara and Hurd, and I put Hurd as my tight end at times, and then I move him in the backfield. Maybe that could have worked and kept him here and kept him happy. I don't know. You know, it could have been too far gone, and he was just not wanting to be here. But you think about it, and on paper, it's not a bad deal. Impossible if he goes play tight end for somebody, and we go, that guy's pretty good at that position.
Right. I think it's possible he could play tight end in the NFL, but if they're not going to put him in the I formation at running back to help him, they're sure not going to use him at tight end. And I'm not saying they shouldn't.
Yeah.
But if they're not going to, because I still think in a one back or an I back situation, Jalen Hurd will be an effective running back in college. I think if he was in an Alabama system from a few years ago, he gained 1,500 yards, I think. he's like DeMarco Murray in the NFL.
I agree with both of these guys, and the question is, why wasn't there a position coach that was having this conversation with Butch Jones when he saw Jalen Hurd going bad, saying, look, we've got a problem here? We didn't mention that. We talked player leadership. We talked head coach. What about the assistant coaches? They're supposed to be the surrogate parents. One of the magical secrets to John Chavis, Will, is that everybody loves him and feels like they can go to his office and tell him what's going on, and he's got a pulse. I wonder about Butch Jones's assistant coaches. Did they have a pulse on their players?
Okay, now let me bring up reality. Since we've now heard that he'd be effective in another system. He ran for 1,300 yards last year. Pretty effective. You look at the video. I put some up on the web this week. Everyone was saying, well, he never should have played running back. Never should have. He was not a running back. Not in this system. Never a running back. No one said that until this year. I've never heard anybody banging the drum on my show that he's not a running back. I think we tend to look at, all right, what's happened in the last month? That's all I remember. Well, in reality, he was a pretty good running back last year. Now, I'm not saying you can't move him around. We've said that on the show all year. I agree with that. But it's going to be taken as he never should have played running back in this system. He was pretty good in this system until this year, when his numbers are down yards per carry, Dobbs' numbers are down yards per carry, and Kamara's numbers are down yards per carry. So I understand he may be able to play receiver, tight end, wherever, but the idea that they botched it all along, I don't know that I'm buying that. And also, if I'm Butch Jones and I built my team around this guy and he ran for 1,300 yards last year, I'm not going to be quick to say, yeah, let's chuck that and make him a tight end, and we'll go to John Kelly.
But remember, he didn't always run from the split backfield zone read last year. They put him in the I formation in the bowl game.
In the bowl game,
and
yes.
Look what he did.
But he did.
And there were some.
He also did it out of when he wasn't in the I formation. Is all I'm saying.
Well, and I get your point. And the big point to me is,
I'm fine with moving him around.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
I would have put him in a two-back offense.
Yeah, he'd be my running back, no question. I wouldn't move him around at tight end in college. But I think if you had placated him somewhat and run him in the I, played him in a one-back, I think he could have been more effective. I do think that's. And I think he feels there was a promise made, and I think he feels like it was broken, and I think his attitude got sour because he felt like there was a broken promise.
And I think Butch Jones exasperated by letting him have his own practice schedule when other players didn't, and the other teammates saw that.
That's a huge mistake. That's a terrible mistake. Now, before I go with you, I'm going to forget this unless I say it, and I'm already forgetting it, which is why I'm killing time by just rambling right now. Go ahead, Will.
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, like, there were things you could do to placate. You don't have to totally give in, but you can also look at something and go, two backs, not a bad deal. We can get you some work to show tape of you at tight end. We don't have to convert you fully to you're a tight end and never a running back again. Right. But you can put tape on the NFL, and they can go, hey, Bill Belichick's a pretty smart guy. I see a couple plays at tight end. I'll draft you as a tight end. I don't care if you hadn't played it that much. I mean, just need to do a few.
Here's the thing that I think is crazy, though. I mean, you've waited this entire – you just broke my desk. You've waited this entire career, basically. You're within 4 games of finishing up as, again, back to he never should have played running back. He's 400 yards from being the best running back in UT history in terms of numbers. You wait all that time, and then you decide you want to change positions because you're worried about your shelf life. And I get that. The NFL, you get 3 years. That's the old average for the running back career in the NFL. It's short. And if you come in from high school and you got bad shoulders, which he's had, I understand the fact you want to go play something else, but why ever become a running back in the first place? If you're concerned about that, why didn't you come into college saying I want to be a tight end? After 1 year, why didn't you say I want to be a wide receiver or something? So I'm a little surprised there. The only other thing I was going to say, now that I've got it, I don't want to lose it. When you look at Hurd, I will defend him on this as well. He did sour. Last year, those running backs made the line look better than it was. Okay? Mm-hmm. This year, the line's been so bad, those players can't even make up for the line for the most part. It would get awfully old. In addition to, I want to be in a 2-back offense, or I want to be used somewhere else. It would get awfully old then being pounded into a line that doesn't give you holes. So in his defense, if you're already thinking, I'm not into this, and then you go out there, I'm guessing if they were still undefeated and they were still opening enough holes for him to where he could hit the hole like he did last year, he's probably not transferring to go become a tight end somewhere. So I think part of it is just he's been banging his head into a brick wall literally and figuratively with that offensive line.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It could even be off the field stuff that has nothing to do with football when a guy's not happy. Things happen in life that goes outside of football that you're like, I'm just not happy here anymore and I feel like I need a new start. That can happen just as much and just as well. But I think you definitely have to bring into it that if he's not happy and he just doesn't, football's a tough sport. If you don't want to play it, and your heart's not into it, you're not going to be very good at it, and you're not going to last very long.
John, I saw a stat the other day. It was during a game day, and it was Georgia running back Nick Chubb, and they said he had been hit behind the line 44 times this year. And I thought, I wonder how many Jalen Hurd, how many times he's been hit behind the line. And we've talked about this. His 2 yards or less on 42% of his carries and about 25% of those on first downs, which tells you he's getting hit a lot behind the line. And I think he got frustrated by that one.
There was a play against South Carolina. Will, we talked about it Sunday before our show. I don't think we got it into the show. Play at South Carolina where I think it was like a third and two. Third and two. He picks up the first down. All right. He breaks right, cuts to the line. He must have broken 4 tackles just to get to the line of scrimmage and go for 2. Now, on the stat sheet, 2-yard run. He snapped 4 guys' ankles getting that 2 yards. You're having to dodge people in the backfield. Mm-hmm. So part of it absolutely is on him. I think I've been told he's banged up. Some people say he's not banged up at all. Whatever. I think if you've got injuries, your attitude's sour, combine that with that offensive line, it's just a big, ugly mess. So while we said it could and probably will be better for UT, hey, best of luck to Jalen Hurd. Yep. I'm glad nobody was on a TV show talking about my decisions when I was 20 years old. So I understand. Hope he does well. Hope he goes wherever he wants to go and thrives. But in terms of Tennessee, right now, were you surprised at how quickly, and maybe we've done this so long, maybe we shouldn't be surprised, but was anybody surprised that it spiraled into the train wreck in terms of perception as quickly as it did?
No.
Will says no.
No, this season, people built this season up, 10-2 was a goal, but when we got close to the season, they're going to be the national champions. When you put that up there and you think that's realistic when it has no chance and is not realistic in any way, and then they stumble, you set yourself up for failure when you start preaching into that choir of this is, something well above what you are.
The problem is when they're 5-0 and you're in the top 10, you're going on the road, you have to mention it though. You have to mention it, but when we mentioned it, it was like, and the playoff's still out there. It was one of those things.
Right.
My body language is, it ain't happening, but it's out there. So I think that part of the problem was you do have people that tend to, if you won your last game, you're never going to lose again. If you lost your last game, you're never going to win again. I think that's natural. I don't think that's Tennessee's fan base. I think that's a lot of fan bases out there.
Nobody's taking
I think it's the world.
It's the injuries.
Nobody wants to hear it.
This was a different team. I know
No
they don't want to hear
excuses.
it, but the
No
attrition is
excuses.
unbelievable.
Oh, of course it is.
They're 5-0. They had 24 touchdowns on the number 1 Florida defense in the second half. I mean, what you saw was not a mirage, but that's not the team you're seeing take the field now. There's a lot of injuries out there, and there's talent on the team still, but the people saying that Tennessee's second and third team should beat South Carolina is preposterous.
I heard that last week from somebody I know and like. It's coming from the heart when you say we should beat them in the third. That's not coming from a place of logic. That's emotion. I'll let you close out.
One quick thing on Jalen Hurd is that why didn't he want to play tight end when he came here? I think what happened to him this year is this is his year to go pro, and I think he had too many people in his ear. His dad, his stepdad, his mom, his entourage, whoever else. I think he's impressionable, and I think he started listening to them, and I think that was part of his undoing.
Shazan on our show saying you're not a running back. He believed it, and he's leaving. We will have Shazan on Sunday's show, and we'll let him gloat about, see, I told you, he's not a running back. That's Sunday at 11 on WATE 6. Thanks for watching us here on the website. We'll see you on Sunday, and then we'll see you next Thursday back on Fox 43. Have a good one.